Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for our very special edition today of Bayut's webinar, The State of Real Estate. We thought we'll do something really different this time. We thought we'd bring some real-life examples of successful entrepreneurs, real estate gurus in the real estate industry, and bring them to the light and share their experiences with you all, as we're all in this industry together to leave a mark and make a name for ourselves. I think everybody who has interacted with each other or has worked in the real estate market of the UAE, we always talk about how dynamic this is, and the perception people have of this industry, even outside the UAE, is that, oh, it's very easy to make a big buck, and if people want to make quick money, they can join UAE real estate. However, working in this industry through Bayut and now Debezel over the last 6.5 years, I've realized nothing comes easy. Yes, what people see outside is a glamorous and a very beautiful life, but a lot of hard work and a lot of effort goes into coming to that level. I'll share my example. I'll share my story. When I joined Bayut in 2014, I believe it was the 4th of March 2014, we were a company of 4 people. I joined as a sales account manager. I worked my way up the ladder. I used to manage accounts, used to sell Bayut with a lot of pride. People say I do have green blood in me. Took a lot of pride in doing what we do, but we did it with a lot of passion. And today we are Debezel at Bayut together, and we have our office on 2 floors in D3. For those of you who haven't come and visited us in our office, feel free to pass by and say hello to us. Coming back to the real estate stars of today, I'm not going to delay this any further because I'd rather have you guys hear it from people who've made it big and really big in this industry. I'm going to start calling my guests onto the camera. I'll start with a very fabulous Firas Al-Masadi, who is the CEO of Fab Properties. Come on, Firas, say hello to us. Firas is the CEO of Fab Properties. He's got about 100 agents under his banner, and they have 3 branches, looking forward to open the 4th branch very, very soon. Is that correct, Firas?
Yeah, that's right. How are you, Fiba? Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending and taking the time to attend this webinar. Back to you, Fiba.
Brilliant, Firas. Before I move on to my next guest, Firas and I and the panelists were having a quick catch-up before the session, and I told them to think about something really interesting and exciting that no one knows about our roads. And Firas, I'm going to give you another minute while I call the other guests on, and then I'm going to start my conversation with you guys on that note, all right? Thank you very much, Firas. My next guest is Simon Baker, who's the Managing Director of House & House Real Estate. Simon, please come on, turn your camera on and say hello.
Hello, hi Fibber. Good morning. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Good to have you on our webinar today. I'm sure I gave you enough time to think about what you want to share, right?
Well, I want to share, yeah, okay. So you were asking a minute ago about telling us something that you don't know about me. Hold on to that one.
Hold on to that. Then
okay, so I'm getting overexcited here, Fibber, in your nice new offices.
Simon has graciously joined us in the office today to take part in the webinar, as his own office is really, really busy because they've recently moved to a new office. Simon also runs a very successful business of about 90 agents, and their specialty is leasing in the Emirates Living area, the ranches, and all of that strip. I'll let Simon talk about his success and his challenges. Before we start this, I'd like to call last but not the least, a very glamorous, our very, very own, my super favorite Zena Khoury, the CEO of Highmark Real Estate. Hello, Zena.
Hello, Fiba. Hello, Firas. Simon, good morning to everyone that has joined.
Brilliant. Zena does a lot of luxury real estate with her very natural panache and flair. Zena specializes in Plaza Versace and the Eiffel Tower. Zena has been kind enough to invite us, the Bayut team, over to the beautiful penthouse in Palazzo Versace, and it was an awesome experience. Well, I'm very, very excited to have you guys today on this session. It's going to be a very interactive and a very free-flowing conversation where I genuinely want our real estate community to learn the tricks and trades from the masters themselves, right? I'll start with Firas. Firas, like we discussed earlier on, tell us something about yourself, about your achievement, about your life, which you think people don't know about you, and people will find it interesting and useful.
I think in general, I share a lot, to be honest, about my life. I mean, most people know I work day and night. I'm married with 4 kids, but I think what people probably don't know much about is the struggle I go through, and the struggle I continue to go through, because it's not like you've achieved certain milestone of success and then you're fine and everything is smooth. In fact, your challenges get as big as your success. So definitely today we're still facing a lot of challenges, whether as a company or at my personal level, that people don't necessarily know about. A lot of challenges and struggle that I went through in the past that people don't know about. So people tend to not to really focus or to see the struggle. They just see probably the success, the cars, the whatever achievements that people have done in their lives. So I guess it's the struggle that's it. Everything else is shared.
Brilliant, for us. Thanks for sharing that thought with us. I do believe that with real struggle and real challenges does come real success and everlasting success. Thank you very much. Simon, over to you. Let's hear about what we don't know
Morning,
about
Fiba. Right, I was thinking on a slightly different tact, but when you said tell me something you don't know, so I was thinking back, and when I was less than a year old, my parents moved to North Africa. They moved to Tunisia, to a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere, and they were working for a charity at the time. So I lived there for about 4 years. So it's not particularly relevant to anything really, but it's something that a lot of people don't know. And I think when I then subsequently looked at moving to Dubai at the age of 19, and everyone said I was crazy, it felt quite natural to me. Obviously not quite the same area, but sort of Middle East, North Africa. It was quite a natural move for me. I wasn't fazed by it at all. And I'd never been to Dubai. I just jumped on a one-way ticket to Abu Dhabi, and off I went. So yeah, something you probably don't know.
That's brilliant. I genuinely didn't know about that. That's very kind of you to share that little secret with us. Zena, let us hear something about yourself that we don't know.
Oh, there are probably a lot of things that people don't know, but one of them is I was a TV host for many years. I'm a certified makeup artist, and if I was to discuss some of the struggles that Firas had spoken about, because a lot of people see me in Versace, they see me in these fancy penthouses and these nice clothes. In 2008, I could only afford 2 packs of noodles a day and a can of Diet Coke. And I think a lot of us have, the people in the real estate industry that went through 2008 in Dubai and are still here can probably relate and tell you a similar story. So I was carb loading, Firas.
I can relate to that.
It's brilliant. Well, when we were chatting yesterday, all 3 of you are roughly around 14 to 15 years here and approximately the same time in real estate. I'd like to start with your first real estate job, and then from there, I'd like to know more about the first wow deal or your first deal ever, because I think that's very important for all these hiring and the young new agents out there to realize that there is always a first time. We have to start somewhere. So let's start with you, Firas. We all know you started here in the UAE with a retail background, and I'll come to that in a bit. But what I want to know is your first real estate job and your first deal.
Obviously, I didn't know anything about real estate, and I was on a basic salary of 5,000 dirhams a month, and I could not just jump into an industry that I knew nothing about and doesn't offer salary. So what I did is I took I mean, back then the market wasn't that regulated. You didn't need the RERA to take the RERA exam or certificate. So what I did is that I took my vacation. I had 25 days. All my friends, I think back then they went to Goa and I went to real estate. So I used the 25 days vacation and I worked in the real estate. The first thing I did is when I stepped in the office, I just looked at people around me. They were all driving nice cars, you know, wearing nice clothes and seemed to have a good life. And none of them had wings. So I thought if these guys could do it, I'm not going to be intimidated and overwhelmed by, you know, being part of an industry that I knew nothing about. Just the fact that I saw the kind of people making a good living out of real estate, I thought I can do this, you know, over and beyond. And that was what really motivated me to, you know what, to learn more and to say I can definitely do that. So that's kind of how I started. And of course, I didn't want to be on a basic salary. I didn't want to be I don't like the pennies business. I mean, even now when we focus on areas, I don't like to focus on areas with small, low ticket price, unless it's scalable and unless it has other value. So one of the things that, you know, referring back to what you said, something that people don't know about, that we're launching something called FAM Crowd, Real Estate Crowd, where we're going to offer people the opportunity to spend only 50,000 dirhams to buy prime apartments in very prime locations, such as Burj Khalifa area. And it's not because, number one, because it's a scalable thing, but more important, it's only because I feel that I want to add value to those who are contacting me on social media and saying, I don't have the budget to get into the real estate with $1 million or with $1 million dirham. I have only this much and I wanted to invest in it. So really, that's what got me into real estate. It's a marginal business. And the only difference between someone who sells a building and make $1 million commission and someone who sells a studio is their experience. You know, in other businesses, you need to invest so much more in order for you to make more money. But we are so fortunate to be part of this industry. And of course, real estate is the cornerstone in Dubai, of the economy of Dubai. So that makes it exciting.
Brilliant. Firas, tell me about your first deal. How did you feel? What was it? Was it a rental? Was it a sale deal back in the day when you did your first deal? Talk to me more about that.
I'll tell you probably about
the
first deal.
Firas, I would want to.
I'll tell you about the first deal maybe that I did at FAM Properties, because maybe it could, you know, some agents can relate to it out there. I remember, of course, I started in 2009. So it was, you know, you call someone, he will either swear at you or laugh and say, like, are you serious? You're trying to sell real estate. So we were only doing leasing back then. But I remember very well that I was, you know, I just said to myself, I looked at all these towers and I was like, someone needs to handle this. Even if my job was to evacuate investors out of Dubai, I'll get rich out of it. So that was the mindset. The mindset was that I need to be fully engaged in the system, and life goes on. And wherever the system evolves into, I'll evolve with the system. So I was doing only rentals at the beginning. And then I remember I just came down from in the elevator from one of the buildings in Executive Towers. And while I was in the elevator, there were two local ladies. And they were saying that they were talking about buying an apartment in the same tower. They thought I don't speak Arabic. And then I spoke to them. I said, you're looking to buy? I have a really good unit here for sale. They said, okay, fine. So we literally reached the ground floor. I took them back up to the apartment. I showed them the apartment. And that was the first ever sales deal that I did at FAM Properties. And the moral of the story is that, you know, you need to continue being engaged in the system. Probably they were viewing a unit to buy from an agent who didn't bother to go with them. And then it happens that I was at the same time at the elevator with them. So it's really important that all agents, you know, stay on top of their game, because leaving room for loopholes can make you lose serious amount of money. So yeah, that was the first sales deal. So that's worth mentioning.
So you were doing leasing in Business Bay?
Yeah, I was doing leasing. I started in Executive Towers. I was doing leasing, and then, you know, no ads, no nothing. I was just out there. When you just put yourself out there, you're gonna be exposed to opportunities. But, you know, it's like if you're gonna get creative ideas about something, you have to be engaged. You have to engage your brain in that space in order for you to come up with a creative idea. You can't be thinking of business while watching Netflix, right?
Brilliant. Simon, thank you for us. Simon, tell me about your first deal.
Tell me about my first deal. Well, my first deal was, I remember it quite well actually. I was working for a very small company. They had an office in the UK, but over in Dubai they had 3 people, and I was one of them who just started with 0 experience. There were 2 other ladies who didn't particularly like me. They thought, "Who's this 20-year-old and what's he doing here?" The time the market was booming. So lots of people said, "Oh, it's really easy, you started in a booming market," but just getting the job in the first place was quite tough. I must have gone round all the big players, banging on the door saying, "Can I have a job?" And they were like, "You're 20, you can't even rent a car. Like, well, we're not going to give you a job." So I ended up working for someone who's a good friend of mine now, who had a small company at the time. Who, as I said, they had the office in London. And my first deal was a 2-bedroom apartment in the Gulf Tower, which was brand new at the time. Our office was in Emaar Business Park, and it was literally, I walked across to it. As I said, I don't think I had the car still, so we walked across for the viewing. It's a lovely Irish couple. I managed to somehow convince them that I knew roughly what I was doing, when it obviously was completely not true. But yeah, and that was the first sale. Those days there was no land department in terms of title deeds. It was literally just a transfer in Emaar. It was I walked from building 4 to building 1. Where Emaar were on the ground floor, and the transfer happened there. It was a case of you swap the SPA. That was it. It all seemed a bit strange at the time. It was, obviously, luckily, Dubai's got a lot more regulated over the years, so things have improved from that perspective.
That's brilliant. You found probably the first home in Dubai for that Irish couple. This is back in which year?
That was in 2006. So I came to Dubai in 2005. I was working at Fitness First. We're just opening their first gym. I was working for them doing sales on a really mega salary at the time, and working there. I met this guy in a nightclub, I think it was. So it's funny where these things happen. Who offered me the job and said, "Yeah, do you know what? I like you. You can sell stuff." I was like, "Well, okay, cool." So at the time I'd been here a year. I was completely skint, flat broke. I went back to the UK. I took out a loan for £12,500. Which I'm not quite sure why the bank actually lent it to me. I think it was probably thanks to my parents probably securing it somehow, possibly. Borrowed £12,500 from the bank, came back to Dubai, rented an apartment, and there was no plan B. I'd got this job just before I had left, so I came back 2 weeks later. There was no plan B for me. It was always do or die, and it was a case of just working hard and getting on with it and learning it as quickly as possible. To make sure I succeeded. So that was it. There was no plan B.
Okay, great. Zena, tell us about your first deal. Was it here in the UAE? I believe it was, yeah?
Yeah. I moved to Dubai in 2006 because there was a war in Lebanon and I was just finishing my university. I arrived to Dubai. No, actually, I didn't arrive to Dubai with $500. I left Lebanon with $500 on the airport. In the duty free, I saw sunglasses that I liked, got the sunglasses, and arrived to Dubai with 0 money. I was staying with my brother at that time, and I had secured a real estate position with a property developer in Dubai before I moved here. And then I went through the interview process, and they did not accept me for the job. And then I started knocking different doors to try and find an opportunity in real estate because I honestly didn't have any options. So I had to be in the real estate industry because all other jobs with a fixed salary have very low basic salary for someone that is just new in the industry. And I started with the property developer of Palazzo Versace Dubai and D1 Tower. There's nothing amazing with my first deal, but there's like a small story. So the first property that I sold in 2006 was a studio. And 1 year after that, I bought the same studio. So I actually bought the first property that I sold in Dubai. So as Simon was saying, the challenge was actually getting into the industry. and proving to someone that you are young, you're not just a pretty face, that you will actually perform. Because at the end of the day, as you said earlier, people think that it's such a glamorous, fabulous industry and you can make money easily. But I'm very happy that I got to know Firas and Simon's story, which is very similar to mine, which proves that everyone that has actually made it in the industry didn't make it easy.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Zena, for sharing that story. And it's very heartening to see that, you know, if people work hard and they stay at it, everybody achieves success. It's just a matter of time. For some people, it just comes sooner rather than later. But the key is hard work, keeping at it, and doing what you genuinely like. I believe you all share a passion for real estate. Like Faraz mentioned earlier on, that you always wanted to have things be within reach or achievable for people. On those lines, Faraz, you started in retail, and you said that you did not, you know, wanted to be a pennies guy. You wanted to be a millionaire, and you succeeded in doing that with a lot of hard work. Tell us about that one difficult failure or a deal that didn't go through, if you want to share that experience, and it could be something else as well that really.
I have hundreds, to be honest. I have hundreds. You know, so you tell me in what context you want me to share with you. I mean, to start with, when I started taking interviews, it was a big struggle, because I mean, I remember I went to one interview. I came in, I sat on the chair, I could not say a word. Literally, I could not say a word. And two people were interviewing me, and they said, "Hi, hello, how are you? Tell us about yourself." I couldn't say even my name. I just sat on the chair, then I finished, and I walked away. And what was interesting about the failure experience is that as I'm walking out, I didn't feel down. I just felt that I'm one step closer to whatever I want to achieve. And I just felt like, you know what, next time I'm going to do better. And that was very, I think, awkward failure. It was very embarrassing. Other failures, I think, I mean, I don't know whether I can refer to this as a failure or not, but I sold 2 buildings. I received the checks. I received the commission checks. The commission was 14 million dirhams. Everything was signed. It was between a developer and a buyer. So I gave all the checks to the developer. I got my commission from the buyer. And I was just waiting for the SPA to be signed by the developer. And next day, it was a Friday, the buyer called me and said, "Firas, I don't want the buildings." So that was quite hard, because the night before I was thinking what car to buy and what to do next. But yeah, but anyhow, you know, I didn't sleep for a few days, but I think you build that resilience and emotional balance more and more as you go. So I don't know, the first deal of 1 million, that was a big thing for me, and then 10 million was a big thing for me, then 100 million, then a billion. But you know, over time, you know, you build that you know, resilience, and so now I can just stay cool, whatever it is.
That's great, and that's exactly what we've been talking about, that people need to be resilient and keep at it. Of course, we all have our setbacks. Simon, tell us which challenging deal, and it doesn't even have to be a setback in your career. It could be
as for us, hit the nail on the head. I think, you know, picking one is almost immaterial. There's, you know, in this job, you know, there's a famous quote, isn't there? And sales is about going from failure to failure with no lack of enthusiasm. So I think that's probably quite appropriate for real estate, whether it's trying to get a job in the first place. As he said, you know, I probably had a benefit that I probably spoke, you know, English being a first language, so I had it easy, really. But still, you know, without the experience and at a young age, people just didn't want to give you a job. Then all the way through to when you did get a job, it was calling people and trying to convince them that you actually knew what you were talking about, when, let's be honest, you'd only just started. All the way through to today, that if any sale falls through, you know, it's painful, but you've just got to move on. And I think the best agents are the ones that can go from failure to failure as quickly as possible. And it's about your recovery rate. So it's a bit like if you're, without trying to sound cheesy, I know Firas is into his boxing from what I've seen. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit, get back up and do it again. And if you can do that 100 times, the same as whether you're calling people on the phone or whether it's a deal that's gone wrong, it doesn't matter. It's only money, right? They're just numbers. What matters is the fact that you recover from it. You wake up the next morning and you say, right, let's go again. And that is it. That's the only thing you need to be good at, is recovering from it, not letting it affect you, and going again.
Any one deal in particular, like Faraz spoke about, a building he lost? You'd already decided
No,
which
I
one
haven't
to
been fortunate enough to put one together that was that big, to be honest with you. So it would sound inconsequential. So no, for sure. We've had other deals that have fallen over where you've agreed it, like Firas said, and the money's spent in your head almost, which is sales. It's probably a trait of salespeople that we're definitely not very good at. I should have been better at saving money when I first started doing this job. That's something that I would certainly tell a younger version of myself. But yeah, ultimately it's about the day to day. It's every phone call you make that someone doesn't necessarily want to receive. Every deal that goes slightly wrong. It's learning to take a no as an objection rather. It's not the end point. It's just a part of the process,
Zana, tell us about your experience with this regard.
Yeah. So it's no longer a failure, because when you do so many deals, definitely there are deals that are not going to go as you planned. So it's not as much a failure, but there's been two challenges basically. If we are to talk about a specific deal, it was a disappointment. So a client walks in, there's a 6-bedroom Palazzo Versace, fully furnished penthouse, 70 million dirhams. We take him around, we spend 3-4 hours. Okay, guys, I'm ready. Put down 10% check. He gives a check for 7 million dirhams. We go back, go to the chairman. Yeah, we got it. We celebrated, we threw a party. It cost us maybe 15,000 dirhams just to throw the party. And then we go to deposit the check and it's the wrong signature. He signed the wrong signature and then try get hold of the buyer. He disappeared. So that was 70 million dirhams that went wrong. Another setback that I had, it was when I was just shifting from being a developer office to becoming a brokerage. So I had the developer sales team and I was just appointed as a manager, and I was basically the youngest and the least experienced out of the batch. And it was when I decided that you cannot continue operating as a developer office with giving fixed salaries. We need to shift to the real estate brokerage model, which is no salaries. So I advised the team that, guys, from tomorrow onward, we're going to be with no salaries. And then the next day, nobody shows up to the office. So that was a challenge for me, trying to rebuild a team all over again, deciding that, okay, you don't want to come to the office, you don't agree with this, I'm going to get new people. And this is what happened. A lot of them have actually ended up coming back and joining the team. But that was a stressful period for me, actually having to set up everything all over again.
We all learn from the challenges, and I believe a challenge can no longer be called a challenge or a failure as long as it becomes a learning experience, right? I want to move on to Simon right now, and I want to ask you something about your experience. You were a broker, and then you took up running a business of your own. Tell me 3 things that you would share, or you would tell anyone that you're mentoring, that should always be looked at when you're looking to set up your own business and move on from being an agent or a broker to being the boss.
Okay, fair enough. I think the process going from being a broker to being a business owner, you need to be prepared to initially, at least, to do everything, right? So, it sounds glamorous. You can call yourself the founder, the CEO, the managing director, but the reality is that, especially initially, I was suddenly the driver, the T-boy, generally just picking up all the pieces, until you can build a really solid team around you. It's very unglamorous, I think maybe the reason the three of us on here have all come from, maybe you could, call it humble beginnings, is because, when there's no other option, it's not, we haven't got a fancy degree to fall back on. I haven't got a job waiting for me. As I said earlier, there's no plan B, so you have to be prepared. And the first few years, as much as it looks nice saying, oh, I'm a business owner or whatever, the reality is that, I earned a lot less money probably for the first 4 or 5 years of running House and House than I would have done being a broker myself. We kind of stepped away from that role. I was very fortunate to meet James and Luke, and in them we've got 2 very, very strong business partners. So between the 3 of us, we're all quite different, but we all cover different aspects of the business, which all add a lot of value to it. And we're very fortunate to meet those 2 guys, and we, again, you take a massive step back. So I would say to anybody, do it, but do it with a plan. It's a 10-year plan probably. It's not going to happen overnight. I think maybe a lot of the latest generation struggle to get their head around that. It's going to be a long graft. It's going to be hard work, especially when you've been used to earning a lot of money as a broker. So as agents here earn an absolute fortune. So I think that's one struggle when you first start a business, really, to take a step away from that as such.
I think that's such a golden nugget you shared there. It's interesting, people aspire to be managers, thinking they would continue to make more and more money. What people fail to understand is that in order to step up, some things need to take a step back and eventually then be on the right track where you're secure and you're successful. Couldn't agree with you more on that. Firas, for you, I want to understand, you've done this for so long, you've done real estate, like all 3 of you, for so long. If you were to compare the industry you entered 12 and a half, 13 years ago, and I know Simon briefly touched on it earlier when he said there was no land department, there was no RERA. I believe land department was there, but RERA regulations were not there. What's the difference now?
Of entering the real estate industry.
Entering the real estate industry, is it easier now? And how is this industry different to people who want to make an impact here? Is it easier now as compared to then?
I think it depends in what context. Definitely in terms of the requirements, there's a lot more requirements as compared to before. There's a lot more regulations. There's a lot more that you have to learn before getting in, as compared to the way it was before. However, also there is, I think, also the platforms today, the different companies that you have, and the different options. For a new agent, when you join a company that has systematic training system or structure, when you join a company that has infrastructure to receive people, join a company that can actually handle the scalability and can put people under certain trainings and the onboarding process all the way to get them to transact. That makes a big difference as compared to before, because the market was not really regulated. I don't think that there was much difference between a large company and a small company before. As long as you get hold of the database, you can always do business. Don't get me wrong, it's in that context is the same. Even today, if you join whether a big or small company, you can still do business. But I think there is a difference. It makes a difference for someone new to join a well-organized company, a well-structured company, as compared to joining, a brand new or smaller company. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think if I have to pinpoint one thing, I think there's a lot more to learn as compared to before in order for you to start making money. Yeah, because and today even the online, I remember Golf News was this thick, Today there was Golf News only for properties back then, freehold. So today everything went online. So today companies, I would say, matter more than before, as compared to when it comes to new joiners, because there's a lot more to learn. When you join a well-organized company, you'll be able to learn a lot faster and hence transact and execute and bring results a lot faster. if you have the right
Well
mindset.
said. Yeah, I think it's no secret the technological advancements and all the tools, trends that keep on coming to the market has also added ease of doing business, but at the same time, this is a constantly evolving industry with new tools, new technology, and I believe in any industry, more so in real estate, where there are so many options, people really need to be on top of the game and stay educated and in market. I believe networking goes a long way as well when we want to make an impact. Zena, Faraz briefly touched on new agents and hiring and training them. I know I read, I think, on your LinkedIn that you're hiring agents and building a team. When you hire an agent, and you guys have spoken about your early days where there was little to no training, tell me, how do you make sure that your people are well trained, they're well equipped? How do you mentor them?
So we go through a 7-day full-on training, 8 to 5 every day. We also send them on special missions, and we make sure that when they are in touch with clients, they are actually ready. I just want to touch on what Firas had said, the difference between the real estate market when we first entered and now. Definitely it's more regulated, it's more mature. The clients are more educated, they know what they want, which makes it much easier for reputable real estate companies that are dealing with these clients. So you cannot pull the wool over their eyes. So most of us and most of the people in the industry are obliged to actually be ethical and do things as per the law. So which has helped us. And previously, when there were no portals, when there were no way for us to contact different agents, I think all of us went through this as well. I'd be walking on Sheikh Zayed Road with the only black corporate shoe that I have, going in taxis to taxis, going into the Sheikh Zayed buildings to knock on doors to meet other agents to see how we can work together. So now it's much easier for agents to actually make an impact with using all of these tools that portals such as Bayut and Dubizzle and others are actually providing us.
I agree completely. There are tools here now which assist and facilitates the learning as well as the success of everybody in this industry. Zena, when you interview for a position, by the way, do you guys, and all three, this question is for all three of you, are you guys in your current position still actively involved in recruiting, or is it just something that your other managers or other partners take care of? Zena, do you take part in interviewing agents?
So the first round goes through our sales manager, and then if he finds that someone can actually add value or can be work in progress, then I just meet them at the end to make sure that we are doing the right decision. But most of the time it works. Sometimes some funny things happen in interviews. I don't know if the other guys actually go through this or it's only me. So the candidate would be amazing, very fluent, speaking very fluently, and then when I come into the meeting, sometimes they get a block, and I'm like, did they really go through the first batch of interviews? I don't know if it happens with the other guys, or is it the hair and makeup?
I think that's it's the hair and makeup, Zaina. I think it must just be you. You're just intimidating these poor young chaps.
So Zena is involved at a final stage. Simon, are you actively involved?
I'll be honest, I'm not really, but James is an absolute legend, and he handles that whole process, and he looks after all the training. The first, a bit like Zaina, the first round we've had to put through a recruiter who works for us full time, just because there's just not enough hours in the day. But James takes a lot of pride in making sure that he speaks to everyone. We think it's really nice for the director of the company to have a proper chat with someone. You know, I wouldn't want to put recruitment is probably one of the most important aspects of any real estate company, because let's be honest, it's all down to the people that that are looking after your customers. So I think it's essential, rather than just putting it purely in someone else's hands. James does that, and then looks after the training, which is similar to Zaina mentioned. I mean, a week's training, intensive training, followed then by specialization in an area to make sure that they really have a focus, which was something that I think the three of us probably never had originally. I'm sure we would have benefited from that significantly.
Firas, I've seen the very flashy and the really nice videos you put down careers. Do you actively still get involved, or is it for certain set positions where you're involved in recruiting?
I think I'm definitely involved in the strategy, 100%. And I mean, on my social media, of course, naturally, whether it is towards recruitment or not, I always try to share, knowledge and experience, and spread the word about what we offer in the company. So I'm not involved in the interviewing process, but we have a very well organized, and systematic way of recruitment, and we have a set of criteria that agents or candidates have to meet in order for them to come on. But I'm not necessarily involved in the actual interviewing process.
Good. Zena, tell me, how has Dubizzle and Bayut over the years added to the growth of your company, your business, and your agents?
So at some point in time, Dubizzle was the only platform that was offering property section. So I think they created a big wave of innovation in the market. It helped each and every one of us, and definitely if a real estate company has to stay in business, they need to be on the portals. So we've received a lot of support, and we're very happy to be part of your platform.
Simon, we've had the WOW deal done. I think it was earlier on this year or last year. The big closer, the house and house boy is what I call him. But tell me, how has Bayut contributed towards the growth of your business and success of your agents?
No, definitely, it's great to provide competition in the portal marketplace, for sure. So I think I was joking with Chris earlier, because he said he signed us up on the, he always maintains it's the cheapest deal he's ever given anyone. I won't say the number, but it wasn't a huge amount, and that was back in 2014. And from there, he pestered me every single week, and we ended up, organically sort of growing and spending a bit more money with Bayut to the point today where we've got quite a big package on there, and yeah, it's we've worked hand in hand during those last 6-7 years, so it's been fantastic.
I'm guilty of being one of those guys who would make fun of Chris. I was like, what did you actually do there? But we're very glad that we're in this journey, and offline you and I will talk about that, and I'll tell you exactly how much he had to take because of that.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure you gave him a hard time.
Firas, you've always been a very loyal supporter of Bayut and Dubizzle. When you talk about Bayut and Dubizzle and you look at the growth of your business, how would you relate the two? What contributions has Bayut and Dubizzle done for your business?
I honestly think that you've been contributing to enhancing the standards of the overall industry, not just fan properties. I think, the actual experience, whether we're talking about, brokers or investors, whoever come on your portal, I think you've been really adding a lot of value, and we pride ourselves to have this partnership with Bayut. I think, you now form a substantial, sort of leads for us in the company. And honestly, I have to say that particularly in the past 1 year, we've noticed that there is, the trend is like this as compared to before. So I can genuinely say, this is not just on a webinar or something. I'm a man of facts and numbers. The numbers with Bayut and the leads that are coming from Bayut are just really, really improving month to month. At least that's our experience at FAM. So yeah, thank you for that.
You're most welcome. You're a partner. We grew together. I'm sure the stats come from Fatih, your brother. I remember back in the day when I met Fatih long before I met you. And Fatih is pretty switched on. He's the numbers guy. I wasn't too sure if he'd like to be kind of named on the webinar today. But as soon as you said it's data-driven feedback that you're giving right now, I instantly thought of Fatih. Fatih was good meeting back in the day. Need to come and say hello.
It takes one meeting with Patrick for me to literally dream about data and numbers all night. It's like, yeah, it's an obsession for him.
It is an obsession for him, and he's pretty good at it. When we talk about our first jobs, we talk about our deals, our success, our challenges. One thing that I'd like to ask all of you is more on the lines of your first manager, because you're all in a position of management and you have people reporting to you. Firas, let's start with you. It could be in retail, it could be in real estate. Your first manager, if I'm to pick up the phone and call your first manager, don't know who he is, where he is, but if I end up doing that, tell me, how would he describe you in words?
I tell you, my first manager, okay, that's maybe one of the things, because when he said something people don't know about me, I just said struggle without referring to something in particular. I mean, I remember my first manager used to make me cry out loud in my car going back home, like literally cry out loud, not just tear, cry out loud, yeah, scream in my car, because yeah, he was a horrible person, honestly, by all means. But I just said, I'm gonna, continue. I'm gonna whatever. I mean, he used to bring his friends to wrestle with me in the shop. He wanted to shave my head, and it was like bullying completely. And for me, I just had to take it until I managed to get away, to find something else. And then I took my vacation. I did real estate. And that was my experience. So I'm not sure if you call him what he would say about me now, because I remember he called me afterwards. He wanted me to be in one of the fashion shows for that brand, because they were opening a new store. And I said, if you can afford my 1 hour now, I'll come. Yeah. So that's yeah. Maybe I didn't answer the exact question, but that's my first manager.
Insight. Yeah, that's an interesting insight. It took us a few minutes to get to what I wanted to ask you earlier on, but yeah, thanks for sharing that. I'll not call that manager. Now I know what the manager would say about you. Okay. That I wanted the showstopper in my fashion show. Simon, what would your first manager say?
My first sort of proper job I had in the UK was selling double glazing, which brings out some funny quotes from the series called White Gold, which was out a few years ago, which brings back some funny memories. No, my manager was also a piece of work. He was fairly scary 6'5" individual who used to throw windows at people. So you got good at either moving or selling windows, but you didn't want to get hit by one because they were about 25 kilos and they got sharp edges. Probably not the most politically correct individual ever. I'm not sure he would even remember me today, but yeah, that was the first manager I remember.
Okay. What would he tell you if I call him right now, Simon?
Sorry?
What would he say about you? 3 words.
What would he say? I'm just saying, I don't think he'd even remember me. He would probably be quite surprised I did all right. But no, it was a brilliant job. That if anyone wants a free sales training, probably mainly in the UK, I would go and sign up for an unpaid job working for a double glazing company. They send you on a very brutal sales course for a week, which is a free course, right? So you didn't get paid anything working there, but unless you earned commission. That was my first commission-only job. I think I've always worked in commission-only jobs and probably got a little bit too comfortable being on the edge, not really ever receiving a salary. So I got quite comfortable with that.
So you like living on the edge? We'll send you skydiving vouchers for that. Jenna, what would your manager say? How would your manager describe you?
So first of all, I feel very sorry for the guys that they were abused this way. I do not have a story to top up their story. What my manager actually has to say is something that I've received in his reference letter for me to apply to the executive MBA program that I just enrolled into with London Business School. So I actually have his words in the reference letter. So part of his reference letter, over the years, I've witnessed Zeina's personal and professional growth in the academic arena, as well as her business interests. In particular, Zeina has a high level of integrity and a very strong understanding in real estate and business. Above all, Zeina is an upstanding citizen and a diligent, kind-hearted individual with great capacity to lead and guide others. So basically, this is what he really had to say. I have it in writing, because this is something I always have to make sure.
For us, we need a new manager, mate.
That is a recommendation letter, Zeina. I'm sure that was not the first feedback he gave you back in the day.
His name is Suhail Abidian. He is someone that has opened up the door for me to actually grow in this organization, and that was 14 years ago. So that was the first real job I got. The first job that I had was working in a TV station. She's a woman called Jumana Bouaid. She was an inspiration, a very famous public figure in the region. And she always used to tell me that I see my young self in you. So I've actually been blessed to have really good managers. So the abuse probably came from somewhere else. I don't know. I'm still looking.
Well, I'm glad you had a very inspirational and you had good mentors while you were building your career. Zeina, you are very active on social media. How important do you think social media is, and when you train your agents, and how much do you push your people to have their presence in social media? I know you convinced somebody that we know to make an official account. Very recently, I heard. But tell me, how important do you think this is, and how do you inculcate this in the culture of your company?
Look, at first I was not really sure what angle I want in my on my social media, but then I was inspired by a few other people in the industry. Alicia Sheglova from Dasha is someone that hosted me on her platform for the first time, and then I was like, wow, that's cool. I want to be on that on social media, and then I found that it's very beneficial. First of all, it gives you credibility. When people are talking to you, the first thing you do now after you meet a client or you meet someone, you go on Google to see who they are. Are they legit? Are they really the CEO of whatever? So it gives credibility. It also helps inspire other people to get into the industry. I've recruited 3 people through social media. I receive tons of positive messages of people saying, wow, this is nice. You've inspired me in a certain way. I want to be like you, or I would like to get into the business industry or real estate industry. So it affects other people within the industry, and also other people from different backgrounds. And if we can spread this positivity or share our knowledge or add something to this society, I'm all with it.
Great. Firas, you're quite a brand yourself on social media. And you mentioned that in your first interview, you couldn't even speak. You were so conscious. What was that pivoting moment where you realized that you have to step out of this and you need to, and you are flawless now on social media. How long did it take for you to come?
I think in general, you have people who are naturally confident and people who are naturally not confident. So I am naturally not confident at all. Okay, but I think my confidence comes from my knowledge. So if I know what I'm talking about, I can go, and I'm passionate about it and I believe in it, I could go through 10 walls and I just don't care. I just go for it. But if I'm talking about something that I don't know, that's why I don't talk about anything that I don't know, then you would see my level of confidence is at 0. Now, I never ever had any social media in my life, not even when I was a teenager. Till now, I don't know how to use Facebook. I've never been on Facebook. I've never posted anything on Facebook in my life, other than now Facebook is connected to my Instagram. So whenever I post on my Instagram, it goes live on my Facebook. But honestly, I think one of the biggest opportunities in Dubai is that Dubai is being built as we speak. The market is being built as we speak. So there are plenty of vacancies. And often you see people saying, "Oh, this guy, look what he's doing in social media," is whatever. A lot of bashers. They probably throw some silly comments and what so have you. But then, if you think that you know better, you need to claim that vacancy, because this is what Dubai offers. That's where the opportunity is. The opportunity is there are plenty of vacancies in this city that no one has claimed it yet. And I've seen Muhammad, for example, he's more on the Arabic side when it comes to social media, but he's doing great. Hats off. He claimed it all. And he's done really well for himself on social media. And I just realized at some point of time, and I think I came late, but I always say, it's too late to procrastinate, but it's never late to start. And I just decided to start when I saw that there is a need for me to stand up, for my company, for my brand, and to bring awareness and just to tell the world about what we know and what services we offer, and what me as a person, what kind of experience I have, what kind of knowledge I have. And I think, people who are on the same frequency will gravitate towards your content, and that's what you really want. That's why I said there's always enough business for everyone, because everyone has different kind of content. My content might come as, I don't know, cheesy or not right for someone. It might come as educational for someone else or inspiring for someone else. So yeah, and I think it's really, really good. It helps me a lot, helps the company a lot, helps my agents to close indirectly.
I definitely would say your content is very motivational, very, very inspiring. Especially, I love it when you post your 2009 picture, and then the recent one. That's a story in itself. I think we have that in the teaser as well for this webinar, but definitely inspirational and very motivational. Simon, I know you're the shy one out of the three from House and House.
Definitely, yeah.
And I know the little secret that how you came to your professional Instagram. I'm not going to bring that yet.
Yeah, I mean, look, that was more thanks to Zaina wanting to tag me in something, and I realised I've got an Instagram with about 10 pictures of my children going swimming, which probably isn't appropriate for the professional side of it. As a company, look, social media, there's no doubt that obviously people spend 90% of their time looking at their telephones, don't they? There's a whole nother debate there about whether that's the right thing, but yeah. So I as a company, we certainly post a lot of videos, and we've got a brilliant videographer and some content guys that are always making some fantastic content for social media. And there's no doubt it helps with recruitment, it helps with branding the company and exposure. I figured at individual level, I haven't put any effort in whatsoever. I'm not sure I'm going to be as consistent as Firas is with it, but I might try a bit anyway. So as you said, it's never too late, right? So it's
you, James, and Luke. I believe Luke is more active on.
Luke's a bit more active, yeah. Luke's very into triathlon, so he puts a lot of pictures on there and posts about all his training, and he does Ironmans all over the world, which is pretty impressive. So yeah, he's got a lot of content about that. But James isn't really an Instagram user, so I decided that I suppose someone got to wave the flag for the company. So we'll try to put some content on there.
Brilliant. I'm glad that this has surfaced out of this interaction for the webinar. Guys, so I really thoroughly enjoyed our session, and I will ask all three of you for your parting thoughts. Before we do that, we have a little bit of a fun, it's not a quiz, it's nothing, it's just to see how much do you three know about each other. So we prepared a little bit of some trivia thing. We will have the questions for each one of you, and it's about what you've spoken about your success. Your success is no secret, but mostly about things that you have unfolded about yourself in today's conversation. So we'll see how well did we kind of understand or hear each other. If you all are ready for it, I'll start presenting those questions here, and these questions are going to be again about the personal preferences of each one of you, and I will ask the other person to take a shot at the answer. You good with that?
All right.
Yeah, cool.
Sounds good.
Who thinks they can answer this question about Simon, Zeno or Firas?
I'm okay. You want me to answer? Yeah, I think you work for a boutique agency in not Imar Square. What is it called? Next to the greens.
Yeah, that's
Right?
right. To be fair, I didn't say the name of it. I didn't want to necessarily incriminate the person. So, but yeah, you're right. Email Business Park. Well done for us.
You are a business art. That is awesome. Can we have the next question, please? So, oh, okay, we have the answer. Sales consultant at the Buy Property Link head office was in London.
Okay.
Now about the loss. Oh, I think this is so easy. Can we go back to process screen? No, let's not.
Me. So, shall I
Everyone
answer?
knows about this. Go ahead.
2009.
Can we see the answer?
2009. He said 2009. He said 2009.
I started the company in 2009. I think it was tricky because they were supposed to ask
okay.
about something that I said in the webinar. But yeah, the company started 2009. You're right, but yeah, March 2009. But I started in the real estate in end 2007. You know, I was like a headless chicken. Everything was booming. So
Half price.
All right, let's see this one.
Oh yeah, I can answer this. Go on. She worked in television, I think.
Ah, you got this right. TV presenter. That is awesome. Ooh, this is tricky. Do I know this? What is Simon's favorite real estate location in the UAE?
I think you asked me that, did you?
I know.
Wait, I guess is you could have a guess.
Maybe I should. Zena, you will. Okay,
Maybe
Firas, how about which one of you would
Jumeirah
like to?
Park?
Jumeirah Park. I know where this is coming from. Firas, which one of you?
Springs 13. No. Sorry.
What do you think is his favorite location? Oh, downtown.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I used to live in downtown for about 5 years before the mall was even built, so that's why I quite like the place. So.
right.
Would you invest there, or would you always prefer it for living, Simon?
Ask him if he has invested there.
For both. I know. I to be honest, I never bought an apartment there at the time. I was probably flat broke in 2009 selling properties there, running around the boulevard. That was the time when we were selling from Emaar and doing credit note deals and wheeling and dealing, and I was young and dumb and spending all my money on stupid things. So that's a great lesson to someone who's just starting out, is be a bit more careful and work hard.
Brilliant. Right. This is interesting. Who'd like to take a go on this? Why don't we do this? The other two can guess and we'll see which one is the closest. Because I don't think I asked this one.
You definitely didn't ask this. No, I don't know. I wouldn't like to speculate, to be honest. I reckon she's going to say she's going to say spend time with family. Yeah, spend time with family. There we go.
Firas, do you agree with that, or do you want to say go to the beach? Barbecue. There you go.
Barbecue. Everyone likes a barbecue. There we go. What I'm saying now.
I really had a great time chatting with you all three. I think this was fabulous. This was very informal, yet I would like to believe that a lot of young, inspiring agents out there who are listening to your stories, I'm sure they all admire you. We all admire you as success stories of real estate. There is so much respect for all three of you, what you've achieved, and for you guys to come here and talk about your humble beginnings and how success doesn't come overnight is not only true, but it's very inspiring. So I really want to thank all three of you on behalf of my team, Bayut and Bizzle, that you've taken the time out and very frankly let us have this chat. This shows how deep our partnership is and how brilliant the relationships are. On this note, I want to share I want all three of you to share parting thoughts as to what you'd like to say to the new and the inspiring agents who are out there. For us, any words of wisdom or your career motto you'd like to share?
I just think put in your mind, put in your mind that if others did it and are doing it and will continue to do it and make it big in this industry, so you too can. You just need to put the effort and not to give up. I know it sounds very maybe classic and cheesy, but it's not rocket science. Whatever it takes to succeed. If you see that there are a lot of similarities across our stories, and I think the same applies to whoever made it big in this industry or in other industries. It just takes a lot of perseverance, and you should never give up. That's it.
Brilliant. It's about not giving up. There was a question for you, Faraz, where somebody said that should somebody join real estate for making money or making an impact in the industry, or both? What is your take on that?
Money follows success, not the other way around. So in order for you to make money, you need to make an impact. That's why when we say, don't do it for the money, we don't mean that money is not important. No, money is very important. But to make money, you need to make an impact. When you make an impact, when you succeed in making an impact, that's the time you make money.
Brilliant. Somebody also asked, and I think you guys, before you cover your thoughts, I think we should touch on this. What was your greatest drive for success when you started real estate? Was it money? Was it making an impact? Or was it just leaving that job and starting a new one?
My family has been always and continues to be my biggest ever inspiration. Literally, when I used to do, calls and stuff, I would just try, I'm doing this for my family. So, that was a great inspiration, I think, in my life, and still continues to be.
Simon, what was your driving factor? Or what led you?
I think initially, obviously for us, it's the nail on the head. I think as soon as you've got kids, you've got someone more important than yourself to look after. So that changes the game significantly. But if we wind back to being a sort of 18-year-old self, what drove me was what I wanted to get out of the UK, and I was working, in a very dead-end job doing my double glazing, and by Monday afternoon you'd had enough of the week, so I wanted to work in an industry that you had a passion for, still in a sales environment that drives you and gives you the opportunity to succeed. There's no barriers. It doesn't matter if the next person's got better exam results than you, or has got a degree, or has got, there's no barrier stopping you. It's all down to what you do, which is quite refreshing, right? It gives people the opportunity. There's no excuses. There's no plan Bs. There's just, it's just between you. And I guess to try and be better than the previous version of yourself. So don't worry about what other people are doing, but just try to do better the next day and the next day and the next day. And that leads into this consistency, which is so important. Anyone who's built a successful company up, or learn to be a successful broker, it doesn't happen in weeks or even months. It takes years, and it takes years of dedication to the job, maybe to a specific community. And if you get good at selling stuff, so someone once told me, don't worry about the commission, just get good at selling stuff, be good at it. And if you get good at it and you get good in your chosen area, whether it's a villa community or downtown or the Palm, wherever it might be, but concentrate on that one place, and that laser focus should get you there, and you will get good at it. And in getting good at it, as Faraz said, you will earn a lot of money in the process.
That's true. I think you should jump on social media.
No, I'll leave that to you, big boy.
Confidence and inspiration, so that's what it takes.
Yeah, I think and it's just that consistency. You just got to keep going for it. It isn't going to happen. It isn't going to happen this week or this month or even this year. I think we've all had a tough year this year. I know. For one, as a company, we've still managed to grow quite significantly. And I think COVID has given people, especially that lockdown, has given people an opportunity. I was sat in my garden trying to work out how we can improve. And then once again, you go back to how can we be better than we were before. And I think that's the major thing to take from this. I think this is an opportunity. This year I wouldn't change this year for anything. So many people have told me they wish it didn't happen, but we've taken it as an opportunity. While everyone else is complaining about Corona, we've just increased in size and revenue by about 40% this year. So I would take 2020 over and over again. I think it's been brilliant.
Well done.
That's interesting. That's interesting, and that's a good take on this. That 2020, you wouldn't exchange it for any other thing. I don't know if I agree with you on that or not, but yeah, you're right. Take it as a
gave
learning
us an opportunity, honestly. Yeah, I think as you people, you're so involved in the business that you don't necessarily. You can't see it with a fresh set of eyes, and I think that was the biggest thing. You got to step away from it, and I'm always in the office at 7:30 in the morning. We're there all day, and we famously don't have offices. We sit there with all the brokers, and whether it's helping them do a deal or working out the next bit. But the most important bit about Corona was it gave us 6 weeks to actually stay at home. And I went, hang on a second, we need to get the ship in order, So it's been, for us, it's been an opportunity, to be honest with you.
So true. I think when we say that COVID is the best thing that happened, it's not. Of course, it's a terrible. It's a horrible thing to happen, But we have to deal with it, and I think we created opportunities out of it because we remained focused and we remained engaged in the space for our business, and we did what it takes in order for us to overcome
it. Yeah, 100%.
Zena, any parting thoughts that you would like to share with us, or any
just talking about what drove me to get where I am in real estate. My main thing was financial freedom. When you grow up in a country where there's no political stability, where you don't feel safe, especially when your parents before you have tried to create a financial secure environment for you, and they have not managed to do it because of the environment. So, and we've discussed this together before, but basically one image that always comes to my mind when someone asks me what drives you, I remember when I used to come back from school with the tuition invoice. So whenever I would come back to school, home from school, and I would give this envelope to my mother, she would burst out in tears. So this envelope became like bad news, because now you're supposed to pay the fees for school. So I got to a point where I used to hide this invoice and I wouldn't give it to her, and then she would cry even more. So I knew back then that I do not want my kids to go through something like this. Education is a right for everybody, and I want to be able to provide an education to my children. And if I can help other people as well, I would love to do that. And I do that through different charities, and each one of us gives in different ways. So I wanted to be financially free to help myself, people around me, and even the bigger circle. So this is what really drove me. And the reason why I chose real estate is because there's no floor. It's true, there's no floor, but there's no ceiling as well. So we've all closed big deals where other people would spend 3 or 4 years trying to save to get their freedom. So, and I would advise everybody, since the mic is with me, I would advise everybody that is entering the industry. I just saw a short video on social media now, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's talking about plan B and plan A. Do not come into this industry with a plan B, because you will never give 100% to your plan A. Always be positive. And as Firas said, this is something that I always say as well. If one person in the world can do it, why can't I? So you see a lot of good examples in the Dubai real estate industry that have managed to create companies that have become financially free. If you have the diligence, if you have the drive, if you have the ambition, and you work hard for it, there is no special mix for success. You need to call your leads, you need to get in the office, you need to be presentable, you need to follow up with the client, and everything will fall in place. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, thank you very much, all three of you. It has been an absolute pleasure. I wish I had more time, and I know you already have made a lot of time for us today. We need to continue to do this more often in our office and on the webinar. And before we part today, I want to make a quick announcement on behalf of Bayut Individual for all the upcoming aspiring agents out there. If you want to be featured in our next webinar with all the industry leaders or the panelists, please send us a quick video of yourself, an intro video, or why you should be featured on that webinar. We'll post more details on our social media channel. But please stay tuned, send us your video, and we will get in touch with you and have you share this space with all these successful people out there. Once again, Firas, Simon, Zena, this was an absolute pleasure. And thank you for sharing your story so candidly. I know you're all very busy. I thoroughly appreciate this time. And I'm looking forward to a lot more sessions like this where you can share your experiences and we can make an impact.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Sounds
much.
good. Thank you, Fiba.
Thank you. I'm signing off. Take care. Bye-bye.